Hello, welcome back to Live Courageous. I'm your host, Musudeen. Today, we're in episode 5 of the 6 episodes we were talking about for decisions. Today's topic is obedience when it's hard. What if obedience isn't about losing freedom? It's actually the pathway to freedom. I'm going to let you soak that in a little bit. So today, we're going to talk about obedience, and specifically why it feels so hard. Whereas what we were covering, obedience, sometimes feels scary. I'm going to tell you a story from my life, a couple of stories, as a matter of fact, and then what obedience really means. And we're going to set up a framework that we can use practically. So, some of the things that we see behind people following obedience is the 4 types of fear. We have the fear of the unknown. I had that also. When I started my entrepreneur journey, 2004, I'm a nurse, so I worked in a hospital. I also worked agency, and since I was a young adult, I was a go-getter. Okay, I wanted to make as much money as I could because, again, I was just starting off, and so I had to develop, plans for my family in order for us to save and try to buy a home and all of those good things, okay? So, starting the entrepreneur journey, I was working days in the business. I was working nights as a nurse. That was a little hard on the body. But because I was motivated and I was a critical care nurse, so I really liked what I did. As a critical care nurse, we were taught extra skills in order for us to critically think whenever their health is failing, and such as, maybe they would have, a sudden decline. They're on the ventilators. They have to have, of course, the intubation, or they're on the heart monitor, continuous heart monitor. So those are the things I was working with. That gave me an adrenaline rush. I really loved what I did. But what happened was, because I was working so much, my husband approached me and said, because we had 2 young children at that time, that I should cut back in my duties or working night shift, however the case may be. So I couldn't do the business during the mornings and then go and work at night because it was just really taking a toll. So again, that was very, very scary to me because I was making money that in a day's time work, I can work a whole 8-hour shift and get close to $400 because of my skill. And we got paid daily. So I had to do the unknown and stop doing my nursing duties, the ones I was working at the hospital at night. I literally had to stop doing that. That broke my heart. But again, it was obedience because my husband asked me to, and so I did it, even though I really didn't want to tell you the honest truth. So I'm going to tell you what that means too. And then the fear of losing stability. And again, like I said, we were getting paid every single day. After I finished a work shift with the agency, I would get paid. So it was quick money, okay? And there was a situation we would need quick money, and it was there. I needed to bury my dad, and I had to go work the agency, work 3 or 4 shifts, and was able to do that. So again, I had stability. I know that was always there. And if I needed money, instead of going to borrow from someone, I can go to work. And then the third fear, the fear of losing people. Again, I've established these relationships in the hospital, and I had friends. And because I had to quit working as a hospital nurse, there was some lost love there, because I don't know if I would see these people again. So again, that was in my thought process. And then the fear of being wrong. There was many times I thought, why did I do that? Especially when we're in a money pinch. And I thought to myself, if I was just working that agency shift, we would have had that money. And so I'll say that with the hopes of going back to the work, to the work field at the hospital. But it didn't work. So anyway, we talked about obedience. But again, delayed obedience is still disobedience. I was obedient. I just had some second thoughts, by the way. So what I'm going to teach you today for obedience, and this is a lifelong, it's not a one and done, it's an ongoing thing. I'm going to teach you a time where I was obedient also. This situation, the first one, ended up okay because, again, the business took off and things were all good. But I had a point of time when I was obedient, and it cost me something. I remember exactly a moment when God asked me to leave my first business. It was really a challenge, but I wasn't happy there anymore. But this is a business I started, so that was very difficult. One of the hardest decisions I've made in my life. And I had already done that for like 15 years, by the way. My husband says, well, before you quit, think about it, pray about it, and wait 3 days. And if you still feel the same way, it's okay. I did do that. And I still felt the same way. I didn't feel like I was making a mistake because I wasn't in the mental space anymore to continue to do this. So when I did exit one business, I had a business partner, by the way. We operated both businesses. We have a residential care facility and an in-home care agency. The day I exited the business, the very next day, I was literally, this is around COVID time, so it was COVID-19 time, but it was 2020, November, as a matter of fact. November 2020, I exited the business. I was putting on deodorant. This, people were telling you the signs of COVID. Again, I didn't have any other feelings or any other illness or anything going on at that time. But I put on my deodorant and I thought to myself, I can't smell anything. And this is, good scented deodorant, by the way. But that was the only thing I had. I said, I cannot smell the deodorant. So I went on about my merry day. And then later on in the afternoon, I started coughing. I thought that was strange. And then shortly after that, I had shortness of breath. And so in the facility, let me give you a sneak preview of what that looks like. We have 11 residents. You have literally 3 staff members. One of them was out of the country. 2 was sick. I take it back. We have 4 staff members. 2 was sick. 1 was out of the country. 1 was going to take vacation. I took a test later on that day. After I started coughing, I had COVID. Go figure. So we had 1 working staff. The only working staff that was about to take a vacation day. Well, she was going to go for like a weekend or something to that effect. So that leaves me out, not able to work. At that time, I had some conflicting things going on within myself. I said, what if I would have just had this business partner still? They would have helped me out during this time. She would have jumped in while I was sick and all of that stuff. But just know, whenever you're going through something challenging, God always has a door that He's about to take you through. So again, it wasn't easy. I was out for 14 days. At that time, I had a business partner. And no, not a business partner. I take that back. She is my manager in another company I had started. And she said, why not just migrate some workers from that agency to come and work at the facility. So that was the most brilliant thing that someone could ever come up with. So again, that happened because I was home again sick. You cannot leave your home when you had COVID back then. So that was an opportunity right there to just embrace the moment. We received the help we could we could get at that time. And then some of my residents also had COVID, so they were quarantined also. So it was literally an easy shift, okay? But I don't think me leaving out of obedience was really something that really got to me, because I felt like God was moving me. When I left the business that we were co-joint owners, I lost everything. I left with nothing. That's how bad I needed to get out. But what I did gain on the residential side is the residents. They, of course, they had some fear in them because now their lives are going to be shaken. But I was able to reassure them that this is going to be okay. I'm still going to be there for them. Nothing's going to change. And so that gave them comfort. We even went on a trip to Branson. We took them on a trip, all of them. It was just amazing. So to say this, again, obedience sometimes can cost us something. Like I said, it cost me leaving the business and walking away with nothing. But also, I gained the residents that really, really appreciate the work and being cared for. So again, obedience feels costly before it feels clear. So we're going to redefine what obedience is. Obedience does actually mean, if you love me, this is Jesus's words, okay? Going biblical. He said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And that's John 14 and 15. Also from the Bible, obedience brings blessings and prosperity. And that's from Deuteronomy 28 and 1. And then this is from the Bible again. If you're willing and obedient, you should eat the good of the land. That's Isaiah 1 and 19. And then one more scripture. Believers should be doers and not just hearers of the word. And that's James 1 and 22. So obedience, again, is a partnership with you and God working together. Obedience is trust. You're saying, I believe you, but even though I can't see it. Obedience is alignment. You're aligning your will with His will, which is God's will. Obedience is spiritual. It's a spiritual maturity. Think on this of obedience. Obedience is like a dance. You're not following blindly. You're in the rhythm with your partner. Your partner knows the next step. You trust them. And when you move together, it is so beautiful. That's obedience. Now I'm going to tell you what obedience is not. It's not blind submission. It's not shut up and do what you're told. And it is not control. Obedience is not weakness. People think obedience means you're weak, but it takes more strength to surrender than to fight. I want you to soak that in. It takes more strength to surrender than to fight. So, how to do obedience when it feels impossible? First, you need to listen. What does it mean to listen? It means to create space for God, for you to hear God. For me, it's prayer, journaling, reading the scriptures. And for you, it might be different. But if you have to create conditions to hear, you can't hear when you have constant distractions. You want to confirm. Once you think that you hear God, you want to confirm it. And how do you do that? Through scripture. Does it align with what God's words say? Through prayer? Do you have a peace about it? Through counseling? What do wise people have to say about this? You're not looking for permission, by the way. You're looking for confirmation. I'm going to say that again. You're not looking for permission. You're looking for confirmation. So, the third step is you want to obey. Whenever you get that information, obey. Take small steps, okay? It doesn't have to be big, gigantic leaps. And if God's asking you to be honest with your conversation. If he's asking you to be generous, give to at least one person. Obey small steps, which also will build muscle. And when the bigger obedience comes about, you'll be ready for it. Obedience is a decision, not a feeling. Even if you don't feel like it, let it lead you. What I'm going to ask you just this week to do, you're going to ask yourself, what is God asking me to stop resisting? Not what he's asking you to do, but what he's asking you to stop resisting. And then maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding. And maybe it's a change you know you need to make. And maybe it's forgiving someone. And maybe it's just trusting in an area where you have been controlling. Just pick one of those just this week. And then see what happens when you adjust to this. Then you can come back. You can comment on the YouTube channel or even Instagram and share your story. So in today's closing, we did discover that obedience is a decision. Obedience is a decision, and it's not a feeling. Next week, we're going to talk about clarity, hearing God in the noise. Thanks for listening. This is Live Courageous Podcast. Have a blessed week.